Famous people who passed away in 1747. Before we proceed, please subscribe to our channel to support us. Lord George Graham. He was born in September 1715 and he died in January 1747. His age was 31 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was tuberculosis. He was a Scottish naval officer and politician who gained renown for his leadership during naval engagements in early 18th century. He embarked on a political career and was a member of parliament. Graham was born into the nobility, the younger son of a duke, and embarked on a naval career early in his life, rising through the ranks. He was given his first commands early in the War of Austrian Succession and served in the Mediterranean and in escorting convoys. He entered Parliament through the influence of his father and represented the Scottish constituency of Stirlingshire from 1741 until his death. He was a Whig and a political supporter of Duke of Argyll. Simon Fraser, 11th Lord Lovat. He was born in January 1667 and he died in April 1747. His age was 80 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was execution. He was a Scottish clan chief and head of Clan Fraser of Lovat, convicted of high treason for his role in the Jacobite Rising of 1745. He was the last man in Britain to be executed by beheading. He supported the Hanoverian cause during the Jacobite Rising of 1715 and was accordingly granted ownership of the confiscated Lovat estate. However, by 1729, he was secretly and illegally, but only temporarily, granting freedom of religion to the Catholics of his clan, who were looked after by 3 outlawed Jesuit heather priests who lived inside a mountain cave near Loch Crasky in Glencannick. John Dalrymple, 2nd Earl of Stair. He was born in July 1673 and he died in May 1747. His age was 73 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was a Scottish diplomat and soldier, noted for his role in British foreign policy. He served in the 9 Years' War and the War of Spanish Succession, and after a period as British ambassador in Paris, became a military commander at the Battle of Dettingen during the War of Austrian Succession. He was commissioned as a lieutenant colonel in the 3rd Foot Guards on 12 May 1702 and fought with John Churchill, 1st Duke of Marlborough, during the War of the Spanish Succession at the Battle of Pierre in August 1702 and Battle of Venlo in September 1702. At Venlo, he also saved the life of the Prince of Hesse-Kassel. Barthold Heinrich Brox. He was born in September 1680 and he died in January 1747. His age was 66 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was a German Baroque poet, best known for his religious poetry that celebrated the beauty of nature. In 1720, he was appointed a member of the Hamburg Senate and entrusted with several important offices. 6 years he spent as bailiff at Ritzebettel. He died in Hamburg. Brock's poetic works were published in a series of 9 volumes under the fantastic title. His poetry has small intrinsic value, but it is symptomatic of the change which came over German literature at the beginning of the 18th century. Willem van Mieris. He was born in June 1662 and he died in January 1747. His age was 84 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was a Dutch painter of the Leiden school, renowned for his intricate and finely detailed works in the late Baroque tradition. He was a painter, sculptor, and etcher, active in Leyden. He was born in Leyden, studied under his father, Frans van Mieris the Elder, who was a successful genre painter. Wilhelm had a reasonably successful career, being supported by a few patrons who commissioned and collected various of his works. His oeuvre mostly consists of genre and portraiture, with some landscape paintings, as well as some sculptures. His style was that of the painters in the fine manner, and his genre works, especially later in his career, depicted scenes from upper-class society. Margravine Sophie Charlotte of Brandenburg, Bayreuth. She was born in July 1713 and she died in March 1747. Her age was 33 at the time of her death, and the reason for her death was undisclosed. She was a German noblewoman and cultural patron. Sophie Charlotte was instrumental in the artistic development of Bayreuth. She was a member of the House of Hohenzollern and by marriage Duchess of Saxe-Weimar and Saxe-Eisenach. In 1716, her mother was convicted of adultery and imprisoned. She probably never saw her again. In Bayreuth, on 7th April 1734, Sophie Charlotte married Ernest Augustus I, Duke of Saxe-Weimar, as his second wife. They had 4 children. On 26th July 1741, she also became the Duchess Consort of Saxe-Eisenach after her husband inherited that land. Johann Matthias von der Schulenburg. He was born in August 1661 and he died in March 1747. His age was 85 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was a German soldier celebrated for his successful defense of Corfu against the Ottomans, serving in the Venetian Republic. He was a German aristocrat and general of Brandenburg, Prussian background, who served in the Saxon and Venetian armies in the early 18th century and founded a second career in retirement in Venice as a grand collector and patron. The latter service brought him on the attention of Venice. He was recruited by Venice into the successful defense of Olsztyn in 1711 and 5 years later, Corfu during the 1716 siege against the same invading Ottoman Turks. Christian Augustus of Anhalt-Dessau. He was born in November 1690 and he died in March 1747. His age was 56 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was a German prince, best known as the father of Catherine the Great, future Empress of Russia. He was a German prince of the House of Ascania. He was a ruler of the Principality of Anhalt-Dornburg from 1742. He was a ruler of entire Principality of Anhalt-Zerbst. On 22nd January 1729, he became commander of Stettin, after having been chosen there on 24th May 1725 as a Knight of Order of the Black Eagle. He was designated on 28th May 1732 as Lieutenant General and on 8th April 1741 Infantry General. On 5th June of that year, he was designated Governor of Stettin. Claude Alexandre de Bonneval. He was born in July 1675 and he died in March 1747. His age was 67 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was a French nobleman and soldier who converted to Islam and became a key figure in Ottoman military reforms. The descendant of an old family of Limousin, Alexandre joined the Royal Marine Corps at the age of 13. After 3 years, he entered the army, eventually rose to command a regiment. He served in the Italian campaigns under Catena, Villova, and Vendôme, and in the Netherlands under Luxembourg, showing indomitable courage and great military ability. He was present at the Battle of Malplaquet in 1709 and was severely wounded at Petervordine. The proceedings against him in France were then allowed to drop. Johann Jacob Dillenius. He was born in 1684 and he died in April 1747. His age was 63 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was apoplexy. He was a German botanist and professor at Oxford, known for his contributions to plant taxonomy and detailed botanical illustrations. In 1732, he published Hortus Alphamensis, a substantial catalogue, in 2 volumes of some 400 plants growing at Eltham, London, in the collection of Sherrod's younger brother, James, who after making a fortune as an apothecary, devoted himself to gardening and music. For his work, Dillenius himself drew and engraved 324 plates containing 417 figures of the plants. In 1724, Dillenius published the 3rd edition of John Ray's Synopsis Methodicus Terpium Britannicarium. Francesco Solimena. He was born in October 1657 and he died in April 1747. His age was 89 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was an Italian Baroque painter, celebrated for his dramatic compositions and prolific output of religious and mythological works. He received many trainings from his father, Angelo Solimena, with whom he executed a paradise for the Cathedral of Nocera and the Vision of Saint Cyril of Alexandria for the Church of San Domenico at Solofra. He settled in Naples in 1674, where he worked in the studio of Francesco di Maria. He was patronized early and encouraged to become an artist by Cardinal Vincenzo Orsini. By 1680s, he had independent fresco commission, and his active studio came to dominate Neapolitan painting. Leopold I, Prince of Anhalt-Dessau. He was born in July 1676 and he died in April 1747. His age was 70 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was a German prince and military reformer, known as the Old Dessauer for his significant contributions to the Prussian army. He was a German prince of House of Ascania and ruler of Principality of Anhalt-Dessau from 1693 to 1747. He was also General Field Marshal in the Prussian army. He possessed good abilities as a field commander, but was mainly remembered as talented drill master who modernized the Prussian infantry. Appointed by Frederick I to the rank of Field Marshal in 1712, Leopold distinguished himself for his success during the War of Spanish Succession. He was later appointed the commander of the Prussian Saxon army. Jean-Frédéric Osterwald. He was born in November 1663 and he died in April 1747. His age was 83 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was stroke. He was a Swiss Reformed theologian known for his influential writings on religious reform and moral theology. He spent most of his life at Neuchâtel, first as a deacon, then from 1699 as a pastor, and finally he was elected deacon. Besides this, he gave lectures at the Academy of Theology. As a preacher, pastor, lecturer, and author, he attained a position of great influence in his day. He and his friends formed what was once called the Swiss Triumvirate in matters of theology. He thought to show a leaning towards Socinianism and embraced Arminianism, emphasizing the free will of the man. Thanks for watching the video. Please don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Have a nice day.